All right, guys. I guess we're on Pearl Watch now because there's like no, there's just no content. And there's not a lot to talk about. I'm getting a little bored. And I was like, there was a conversation from Pearl from like a week or two ago that we didn't watch. It was like, Pearl, I'm tired of whining. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. I didn't bother watching the Piers Morgan video about that. And then someone said there's another new one just now. So sure, like why not? Let's do it. Maybe we'll watch both. I don't know though. But like, hey, listen, like I said, there's not a lot going on. And Pearl is, I guess this is her bread and butter right now because she's getting lots of views being called the female Andrew Tate. What a legacy to leave behind. Let's get it going.
Two Piers Morgan said, should Pearl Davis is the self-styled...
Sorry, what was that? What happened there?
Welcome back to Piers Morgan said, should Pearl Davis is the self-styled
Wow, Mitch McConnell took over. Holy moly.
His influencers creating major buzz online with a contrarian view. She's appeared in a couple of debates on this show. It's called Uncensored after all. We welcome any honestly held opinions. But this week...
Wow, if you welcome honestly held opinions, I don't know why you're talking to her. She's not honest. Like, she doesn't believe anything she's saying. Let's just be clear. She doesn't believe women shouldn't be able to vote. She doesn't believe any of the things that she's saying. There are people in the red pill space. I obviously disagree with like everything or most things in red pill space because it's very sexist towards women. But you can tell when people are being honest, and she's one of the very few who doesn't believe anything she's saying. Like, she doesn't believe a word that she's saying. Let's just be real here. It's a fact, okay?
Seeing a major backlash for posting a song titled "Why Can't We Talk About the Jews," which she dedicated to far-right commentator.
What? She wrote a what? What?
Nick Fuentes, before later deleting it.
Look at her face. Did she even know this is what she was on here for? Why would... First of all, you can talk about Jewish people. You really can. I will say that when there was this was a few months ago, and I remember watching Jon Stewart, and I think he had an amazing take on it, but there were people that were talking about like how there is disproportionately Jewish people representing some areas, right? And one of the problems that we have is that people aren't willing to talk about it. And the reason, a big reason, is because they don't want to push anti-Semitism, right? And I understand that, and I can respect that. But on the other hand, if you aren't willing to answer questions, honest questions from people, and a lot of the people who were having these issues were black, like Kanye West kind of sparked it. When you're not allowed to talk about it, it just kind of stirs conspiracy ideas. And I remember Jon Stewart was like, we should be able to talk about it. We should be able to answer these questions. Like, that's the right thing to do, would be to talk about this. The right thing to do is answer these questions. That's just the right thing to do. And it's healthier for us. And I think that we've been healthier since that moment as a society. Like, when people say, like, how come there are...
Pajama Pro super chatted $6.47. Popeye got accepted into a house share in London. It is 1,500 used per month, so no more donating from me, haha.
No worries,
Wish
brother.
me luck, thanks for being a role model.
I appreciate that, and no problem, brother. There's never an expected donation, man. I'm proud. I'm happy for you, and I'm proud of you, brother. Anyway, when it comes to the we'd say disproportionately high representation of like Jewish people in Hollywood, it's important to understand that historically Jewish people weren't allowed in like the Eastern United States version of like movie making industry, right? And so Jewish people made their own, right? Hot take. And it just became more successful. And again, when you look back historically, there's a lot of Jewish representation inside of banks. And that's because historically it's been considered dirty by Christians to be in a bank. So Jewish people would that would really be one of the only jobs they might be able to get. And of course, you know, in a lot of instances, people tend to not make massive social mobility, and they stay within, you know, some of their historic, their familiar roles, right? There's no magical Jewish conspiracy theory. It doesn't exist. Okay, I'm Jewish, ethnically, right? I don't control anything. There hasn't been a single Jewish U.S. president, which is, you know, considering how apparently, you know. If Jewish people ran the world, you'd have at least one Jewish president, and there just hasn't been. Okay, so it doesn't exist. It's an anti-Semitic talking point, and you know, people should talk about it intelligently and constructively more, so that we can kind of dispel some of these anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that people like Nick Fuentes like to push, because Nick Fuentes is a racist, and he's a fundamentally bad and unintelligent person. Nick Fuentes is somebody who thinks that, you know, black and Hispanic people are less than because they have quote-unquote lower IQs, right? And he doesn't think that there's any systemic aspect to it. Obviously, the lack of money, lack of education and whatnot is going to have an impact on everything, right? But Nick Fuentes just thinks that biologically black and Hispanic people are inferior. He's a racist. He's a racist piece of shit. That's what he thinks. And he's wrong. And, you know, but then what's funny is that, like, when you see Jewish people overrepresented positively, for some reason, that's not good either, right? So you're bad if you're considered less than, you're bad if you're considered greater than. It's a very interesting mentality. It's a victim complex, fundamentally, from Nick Fuentes that he has, right? Like, he's an inadequate person, and he needs to belittle and shame other people and make them seem less than. And that's pretty much it. And he's the kind of guy who really couldn't perform any other job outside of what he's doing now. I don't think that he's capable of functioning in society in any way that's constructive outside of, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, working at Best Buy. He kind of reminds me of like a ratty little Best Buy worker. So yeah, man, I think it's good to talk about these constructively without hate in your heart, and just with the intention of having a positive conversation about it, and like really just getting down to like the facts and like what's going on. Right, I think that would help profoundly in just bringing people together. So,
why can't we talk about the?
And to be clear, I want to be very clear too. Pearl's not interested in a constructive, intelligent conversation about Jewish people. She's just not. She never is. She doesn't care. Like, she's not a person that actually cares about a constructive conversation. She cares about being anti-Semitic because it's edgy and she wants attention and views. That's all it really boils down to. That's literally it.
Without getting kicked off of YouTube. Now, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy.
Oh my god, this is fucking
but I kind of want to know why.
I want to say bad words. You want to know why he wasn't a good guy? Are you a fucking moron? This is what I'm talking about. Like, this isn't the debatable question here. He's a bad guy because he murdered 10 million people. I don't understand. Like, I don't. What do you? This is just wild. Okay.
Now there's all these conspiracy theories, and the more they talk, I think maybe they're right.
Because you're a fucking moron.
But I can't even listen to the convo.
Well, Pearl joins me now, along with the...
She's not talking about people in general. She's specifically talking about Nick Fuentes. Like, Nick Fuentes, like, that's it. She just wants to... She's a fucking idiot.
New York author and founder of End Jew Hatred, Brooke Goldstein, over in the States. Right, Pearl, you've come on the show a couple of times, right? We've had some spirited debates about feminism and stuff like that, and I thought you made some good points, and it's got lots of traction. Then I wake up the other day, and I see this thing that's trending, involving you doing this song. And I couldn't really believe what I was watching. I didn't know... Why did you find it funny?
Huh?
Did you find it funny? I mean, you know the back.
Look at her face. Bro, she looks like actually upset. I haven't seen her look like this in a very long time.
I didn't know. Why did you find it funny?
Huh?
Did you find it funny?
Look at her face. She's upset. Wow. Holy fuck.
I mean, you know the backlash to it. I mean, you deleted it. You obviously thought you shouldn't have posted it. Mm-hmm. Why did you do that?
It's funny, as she deleted it, it didn't get taken out by YouTube. So it's funny. Isn't that funny?
Good question.
I mean, the point was more about cancel culture and people getting kicked off of social media if you finish the song. It was more about, like, you can't talk about this topic without being canceled by the left and the right. I don't really have a strong opinion either way.
What are you talking about? I mean, you effectively ran defense for, like, Hitler. You realize that, right? When you said you don't understand why he's bad. I have a strong opinion. This is baby speak. This is, I made an opinion and now I got a lot of hate for it and I realize I'm stupid. So I'm going to pretend that I'm just a baby. I'm just a little baby. I don't know. I don't really know what is going on. I don't have a strong opinion on this topic. It's just like babies shit.
It was kind of just like tongue in cheek. I didn't really expect it to get that crazy. I also, it wasn't dedicated to anyone. I don't know why they say that, but that's not.
It was dedicated to Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist.
And by the way, Nick Fuentes gets off when, like, his name gets put into the atmosphere like this. Like, it's unfortunate. This is like the game.
A Holocaust denier. He said afterwards that you had dropped a diss track on the Jews, which he clearly took to be something which was, you know, mocking Jewish people, talking about, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy, but I want to know why. What do you want to know why?
Well, it was more like, why can't we talk about it?
Okay, sure. That's not what it was.
Wasn't like
you talked about the more conspiracy
other.
theories you've heard about Hitler and the Holocaust, presumably.
I'm a fan of conspiracy theory. Like, you know, people think I'm part of the CIA.
Woman.
There's a whole conspiracy thing online. And, you know,
Listen, I am not a fan of conspiracies. I think they're stupid. My wife is a fan of conspiracies. Women love conspiracies. I don't know what it is. But there's a difference between a conspiracy that like dolphins can actually breed with humans or whatever fucking wild shit people come up with. I don't even know, to be honest with you. There's a difference between that and the conspiracy theory that whatever the fuck you're talking about, right? These are a smidgen different.
Not for like silencing it either way. The point of the song isn't
what?
like I really have an opinion on the matter. It's
yes,
more.
It is.
I don't think we should ban people off of social media. So far,
I do. I'm not like I think that the everything freedom of speech argument is like kind of pussy shit. I think people should have freedom of speech, absolutely, but there are going to be some things that are bannable. Okay, for instance, the N-word. I think that if you're going around throwing hard R's out there intentionally, you should get banned, even if you're black. Honestly, with a hard R, nobody should be saying that. I think that I think that there are some things that are bannable. Nick Fuente, what he did was deserve to be banned. I don't know what to tell you. Like, okay, sorry. It's not really a hot take. You know, if you had a platform talking about how amazing slavery was, you should get banned for that too. Like, it's not really a hot take. Like, there are some things you shouldn't be doing.
So that I don't even I think it should be illegal to ban anybody off of social media.
So then you're actually anti-freedom of speech because platforms have their ability. Platforms have their own freedom of speech as well. And part of a freedom of speech of a platform or a business is to be able to exclude who they don't want in their business. They should absolutely be able to do that. What you're saying is anti-freedom of speech. If you want to make it illegal, what you're saying is the government should restrict the freedom of speech of businesses. So I could have sworn I just got the key.
They're inciting violence. That was the point of the song. I'm not
No, it
really.
wasn't.
It was more like tongue-in-cheek.
But just to be clear, what are the conspiracy theories surrounding Hitler, which you feel the more you hear them, the more you're interested in them?
Well, I don't know because I can't hear them.
Huh?
I don't know
the ones that Nick Fuentes.
Well, I wasn't even talking about Nick. I was thinking of Ye, to be honest. I don't know why they put that.
Jonah Hill fixed Kanye, so
Nick was the inspiration for that song. I was thinking of Ye.
You're friends with Nick Fuentes. It's probably why people think that was the inspiration for the song. So, like, wow, what a hot take, huh?
You are aware of the big backlash to this and the deep upset from the Jewish community.
I certainly am now. I just posted that song and I woke up and I was like, article. I was like, golly.
Right, but are you
this is
sorry?
Crazy. You know, I think that, my whole point was that cancel culture is wrong.
No,
I am not speaking one way or the other about the issues. My question is, why are we canceled for talking about certain topics?
So you would allow Holocaust deniers to have space on social media to promote Holocaust denials to millions of people? You have 2 million people who subscribe to your YouTube, right? That's a big audience of people.
I'm not at 2 million yet. I'd like to be.
Right, but you have a lot of people that follow you on various social media platforms.
Yeah.
It's interesting what her what words she focuses on. I would like to be. It's like that was the most profound part. I'd like to be. Okay, that wasn't really the point, but okay.
You put a video like that up, and there are going to be some impressionable young minds going, hang on, what's Pearl saying? Adolf Hitler? Not saying he's a good guy, but I want to know why. The more conspiracies theories I hear, the more I have to think.
What's up? Love you.
Think about it.
But
I took that to mean that you agree with Fuentes.
Why did you cut off the end of the song? I said, but we can't even have the conversation.
What is the conversation you want to have?
Without being canceled by the left and the right. The point is any speech.
I think
it's not any speech.
It's not any speech. What is the conversation about Hitler and conspiracy theories and the Holocaust that you want to have?
I don't want to have any conversation. My lane is feminism.
Look at that. He's asking her. He's inviting her to have the conversation. What conversation do you want to have? And she has no answer to that question. Because it's never about a conversation to be had. It's about being a provocative person. It's about saying something that she hopes will become viral, positively or negatively, because she's desperate to maintain relevancy. That's it. She doesn't want to have a conversation about anything. She just wants to say dumb shit. So now he's like, okay, what conversations? Oh, I don't really know. Oh, well, I don't know. I can't hear them. Well, okay, what do you want to have? I don't know. That's not my lane. So then why are you talking about in the first place? It's not about a conversation that she wants to have. It's about being provocative and being seen as cool and edgy and based by a bunch of dumb fucks on the internet.
Well, you're singing about Adolf Hitler.
Can I finish?
Yeah, but you are singing about Hitler.
Okay.
So you do want to have that conversation.
I want anybody that wants to speak on social media to be able to speak about what they want to talk about,
including Holocaust
without
denial.
Getting banned. Whatever they want to talk about,
including Holocaust denial.
If they want to talk about that, as long as they're not inciting violence, I think people.
It's also inciting violence. They're inciting a hatred of Jewish people.
Social media is the new town square, right? You used to be able to go and say your opinions in the town square. Now we have corporations censoring what can and cannot be
It's
said.
incredible how lazy like the cancel culture or how lazy like the freedom of speech argument is. Like, I agree with fundamentally with freedom of speech, of course, but like we're talking like it's just like that's all she has. She doesn't have any platform. Like, she just gets to hide behind it. She doesn't have to be intelligent about her take. Like, she doesn't. She was just saying things to be provocative, and she has no defense now, and so she's just babbling about freedom of speech because she doesn't care about like Holocaust denier shit, right? She's a privileged white fucking like kid that never was gonna have any difficulty in her life because her dad owns a fucking business, who just says this dumb fucking obnoxious shit. That's it, and now she's just hiding behind that.
And I think that's wrong. I think that should be illegal.
Well, let me bring in Brooke, who's been listening to this. Brooke, I don't think Pearl quite understands why the wording of this song, which she deleted, to be clear, so obviously realised this had not played out maybe the way she hoped. The offence is caused to the Jewish community. Why was it so offensive?
Because you're pretending that Hitler didn't do anything wrong. That's why it's so offensive. Like, let's be real. She's a disgusting person.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on and for highlighting this issue.
I think it would have been better to not have, I don't know who she is, but maybe we could have had like a survivor of the Holocaust there. I think that would have been a lot more productive.
Necessarily highlighting Pearl, but highlighting the issue that what you pointed out is that we're really facing a crisis of societal conscience, where someone like Pearl, who engages in hate speech, and actually the irony is she's complaining about being canceled, and yet she's on your platform. She has millions of viewers on the internet and on social media, and she's complaining about being canceled. The crisis is that this is what is profitable now. This clickbait, this type of racial incitement is profitable on the internet.
Got it right.
You know, I'm sitting
This
here
woman's
listening to
fucking
Pearl.
based.
I don't know if she's just plain stupid, or she's actually quite intelligent and knows that what she's doing is so sensational that it's going to make her a lot of money. But
Bro, this woman is fucking based. Holy shit. She's like slapping it. The only thing I might disagree with, Pearl is not intelligent in any capacity. Pearl knows how to get people to talk about her. I wouldn't call that intelligence though. So
I want to say one thing. Pearl will disappear. She will disappear, like many others before her, because this is something that's just a moment in time. She's like a train wreck. It's like a car crash. You know, for example, you know you shouldn't be looking at it, but you can't take your eyes off it. I want to make one more point. I think it's so important, especially on this platform. Hatred is taught. No,
bro, she's destroying Pearl. This is insane. Holy moly.
Nobody is born like this. And I talk about it a lot in my book about the dangers of hate education. And it's not something that we can debate, that we can engage in a rational argument with. You can see what her opinions are. She thinks women shouldn't vote, women shouldn't have the right to divorce. She thinks that
wow. Like, I'm sitting here saying based because I'm a dumb fucking YouTuber, a relevant asshole YouTuber. If I was ever on Piers Morgan or any professional podcast like this, I would not unironically be saying the words based. She's like a fucking dumb little gremlin. What is happening here? She's saying, are you unironically saying based right now? Oh my God. Bro, this is insane.
Women shouldn't be able to work. She says these I didn't say crazy things about Hitler. Mouth. But there's no rational, please don't interrupt. There's no rational argument with
all she had to say was, please don't interrupt, and Pearl stop talking.
Someone like this. And this is a mistake that my community makes, the Jewish community, very often.
Oh, that they
think they can bring facts to the table, that they can debate somebody like Pearl, and it's, you're going to get somewhere. You're not going to get anywhere.
Well, obviously, just a dunk on you, like royally fucking shard on you right now. You're getting absolutely decimated. Your response was based. Like, you lost at that point.
You're going to get somewhere only by shedding the light on this type of bigotry to expose someone like her.
Let me just
the crazy person that she is.
All right, bro, let me go back to Pearl. Pearl, let me just offer you some advice, right? Because I don't think you're stupid.
I do. I know you are.
You've made previously on this program, I thought it was interesting. It was controversial in some ways, but actually a lot of people would have agreed with some of the things he was saying. There's no question about that. But you seem to know where the line was. Someone like Nick Fuentes doesn't know where the line is. Someone like Kanye West, who I interviewed after he went on some weird anti-Semitic trope nonsense. Kanye's been wiped out by what he did, or what he said about the Jewish people, because there are certain things where I am absolutely in support of the concept of free speech, right? But you can't go around telling Jewish people the Holocaust didn't happen, as Fuentes. And people like Fuentes does say things like that.
But I'm not.
Well, that's what Kanye's saying, and since she used Kanye as an example, like, Kanye was saying that. So, like, it doesn't matter if it's about Fuentes or not. You were saying that you were talking more about Kanye West. He was saying that it doesn't exist. So that's what you're Okay.
him. So
You
you're
don't
bringing
sing-
me
you
up.
don't-
So it's like,
no, but when you sing a song,
Right.
and you talk about
who
Hitler,
determines what the line is, Piers?
Well, I'm
who
asking you-
determines?
Society? Like, I don't. What a question.
Do you get
I'm
to
asking
determine
you.
it?
No, I'm
Does she
asking.
get to determine
I'm asking
it?
you.
Who gets to determine
I'm
what the
asking
line
you
is?
to work out in your head.
I'm saying the
you're not a
line-
stupid person.
the
When you
line-
say I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy, but I want to know why. Like when you talk about the more conspiracy theories about him I hear, the more I'm like, well, that's interesting. I'm just like a gog that even now you don't seem to really grasp why singing that and releasing it to millions of people is incredibly offensive to Jewish people.
I think at the end of the day, Piers, I don't think it's for you to determine what speech should be allowed and
No,
not allowed.
what about you determining? Why did you delete it?
Why did I delete it?
Yeah.
Because it was just a headache, Piers.
Because you knew it was wrong?
I just think it's like, it's not the hill I'm trying to die on.
Right, but why did you choose that hill to die on?
I didn't choose this hill to die on.
You did. You released the video.
I also released 10 different videos about
Yeah, but they're
10
not all
different other
basically.
topics
But they're not
that
talking about Adolf Hitler, are they?
And why he maybe is a good guy. That was what that was the tone of what you said. So like, you know, gross stuff. All right. Whoa, what the fuck? So
We're not allowed to talk about him.
You can talk about Hitler right to the point you say the more conspiracy theories I hear about him.
Look, I think that anyone should be allowed to speak about any conspiracy theory on social media. That is my point. It's not about Hitler. It's not
If
about
you really
the
believe what you
Holocaust.
did wasn't wrong, you would.
But the funny part is that her video didn't get taken down. She's playing victim. Your video didn't get taken down. Okay? You took it down. So you could talk about it. You just got socially fucking lampooned for it. That's a very different thing.
Wouldn't have deleted it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Don't you think?
I agree with Pearl.
Go on, bro.
If I may just say one thing, as an attorney, I have to say that I do agree with her. That I am a free speech purist, and I think that even bigotry should be able to be spoken in the public sphere. But the problem of cancel culture is not against anti-Jewish speech. I think that's very clear. We see the scourge of anti-Semitism and Jew hatred rising on the internet. The problem is that there's no consequences for it, and the way that private companies
How are there no consequences for it?
Canceling is they're going after pro-Jewish speech. They're going after pro-Israel speech. I can't tell you how many times I'm contacted by people, and often my...
She's not wrong, by the way. It's really not wrong. Like, it's weird. I made a video where I was talking about, like, Destiny and Nick Fuentes, and they had the conversation, and I was, like, obviously adamantly against fucking, you know, anti-Semitism. And they banned me for it. They gave me a copyright, or not copyright, they gave me a content strike for it. Because for what he was saying, despite the fact that it was allowed up on Destiny's channel, they gave me a strike for it. I just didn't even try there. And thankfully they reversed it after a day, but it's insane because they gave me an incorrect strike, and they knew that because they undid it the next day. They gave me a false strike, and then after they gave me the false strike, I put it in for review. They denied the appeal. Then I reached out to somebody through the YouTube studio. They denied the appeal. The only time they actually listened is when I went to Twitter and said it on there. And it's like, not only did they falsely strike me, but they lazily said that it was justified even though it wasn't. I had to go to Twitter to say something. And it's fucking insane. Right? And so, like, you know, I mean, I'm sure that comes from a lot of that just trying to be careful, I guess. But, like, it's crazy how, like, you know, I don't think it should be censored from Destiny either or anything, but he can make his video, and but like for my video gets taken down, like, you know, hit with fucking insane shit. It's just frustrating. So it does feel like that sometimes, that they're more aggressive about people being like, again, like I had a video on Blair White. They never overturned this one, which was bullshit, where Blair White was saying things that would be considered transphobic, right? And they've removed my video instead of hers for transphobia. Right, even though I was speaking against it, and it's like weird. You know, it's just very bizarre. This is like a weird YouTube trend. I don't know. Maybe it's just that's how I feel about stuff. I don't know. It's just frustrating sometimes.
And clients who are shut down on social media for saying anything positive about Jewish people, about Judaism, or about Israel. Yet these social media companies are unequally applying their own standards. And, you know, while they're, for example, shutting down COVID deniers, they are allowing Holocaust denial speech. They are allowing people like Pearl to spew her hatred. So if we are really free speech purists, and that's what we are saying that companies they should allow all speech.
Yeah, I hear you. Listen, I would just say this to you, Pearl.
Unless it's incitement to immediate violence.
Right, I would say this to you, Pearl.
So we agree.
No, Pearl, I would say this to you in conclusion.
We're all on the same team now.
In conclusion, look, you deleted this, so you clearly felt bad about what you put up, or you wouldn't have deleted it. You accept that?
No.
You don't accept it?
I just, it's kind of a hassle.
So then you're a weak person, right? If you removed it because it was just hassle, then you're just weak then. Why not leave it up if it's such a hassle?
I was like,
or why not leave it up if you believe
it? Just seems like a lot of headache to me.
What
or
the
did
hell
you
is this
realize,
thing?
actually, in that moment, from the visceral reaction from the Jewish community, you crossed a line that you yourself should have worked out was there?
Look, at the end of the day, Piers, the song was about freedom of speech. It wasn't one way or the other. The song was about why can't we have these conversations on social media, and why do I keep getting...
About why Hitler may be a good guy.
And why do I keep seeing people get banned on social media? My point is, I don't think there should be a line unless you're inciting violence.
Here's the line.
Piers, would we agree on that?
Listen,
yes or no? Yes or no? Would we agree?
Here's my point.
No, yes,
you haven't
no?
answered my question.
Okay.
I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy, but I want to know why. I want to know why what?
We can't have the conversation without being canceled by the left.
No, what it actually sounds like is she's saying, I don't know why he was a bad guy. That's exactly what's communicated to me, the way that she said that. So, like, that's exactly what I'm getting out of it, and I don't doubt that she meant to say that because she's a provocateur. She just probably doesn't mean it. She's an idiot. She's just trying to say things for attention. But I mean, that's what's communicated. Why is he a bad guy? Like, that's what's communicated there.
I just don't understand why you guys added. You guys cut out the end of the song.
Paul,
You did 75. Okay.
The conversation about whether Hitler was a good guy. You want to have that conversation?
I think that
he murdered 12 million people,
my whole
including
point,
6 million Jewish people on the Holocaust.
My whole point is we should be able to have that conversation.
But whether he's a good guy?
Yes, because it causes more commotion when you're starting to censor people.
I don't agree.
Like, I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong to censor anybody.
Well, you know what? You can have that conversation. You had that conversation. You posted it. You haven't been cancelled. I've had you on the show because I thought you might, with time, to think about this, regret what you did, because you can clearly, you're not stupid. You do understand the offence it caused, and wanting to have the right to debate whether Hitler's a good guy is just cretinous.
No, I want anybody to be able to speak on any platform. That was the point of the song.
No, it wasn't.
All right, let's leave it.
Can I point out a nuance here?
I've got a book. I'm sorry, I'm afraid we've run out of time, but thank you for coming on the program. I greatly appreciate it. And Pearl, thank you for coming on.
Pierce, have me on. Have me on, Pierce.
Appreciate it.
I'm just kidding. All right, yeah, what an idiot. Holy fuck. She's so dumb, bro. Let's watch the other one now. Let's watch
socialist and author Grace Blakely and YouTube commentator Pearl Davis, both I would imagine identifying as provocateurs.
Of course.
Let's talk about this first of all. Pearl, I just find the whole personal pronoun thing honestly absurd. My personal pronouns on my Twitter biography are now hot, hotter, hottest. And frankly, if people don't call me those, then they have to be jailed. I go along with that. But I did that to highlight that when I do that and say that, people then accuse me of being ridiculous. I think the whole thing is ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like you're being ridiculous. Here's the thing. Personal pronouns, my understanding, it depends on what you're talking about. If you're just talking about how people have pronouns, boy, girl, or non-binary or whatever, I'm fine with that. I don't care. It's just a matter of respect. If you don't want to follow those, like, that's fine. But like, I personally find that just disrespectful. I don't respect people who are disrespectful. But it's just about like being respectful. People have different like gender identities. That's it. You know what I mean? Some people might be exploring their genders. Some people, might be looking for attention. But I think most people, I like to believe that they have like a different gender identity that's between male. It's either male, female, or somewhere in the middle, or boy, girl, somewhere in the middle, whatever. That's fine. I'm totally fine with that. And they feel genuinely that way, right? But when you're just like, oh, you want me to. It's a little bit different than just being like, hey, guys, I want to be called the handsomest. It's like, but I mean, I will say that, though. I'm fine with that. If Pierce is not a bad-looking guy, according to, like, Hollywood standards, he's not very good-looking. But, like, according to human standards, he's a pretty decent-looking guy, Something to keep in mind. So, sure, whatever. But obviously, you're doing it to be provocative, not because you have, like, a legitimate identity there.
Why do we need personal pronouns?
We don't need personal pronouns. I don't think it's kind to allow people to live in delusion.
Wait,
at the end of the day, we all know what a man and a woman is, okay? Just because you dress like a woman, talk like a woman, act like a woman, it does not make you a woman.
That's what Pearl is not a woman. Pearl's just a piece of shit. Like, she's not really a person. Yeah, I mean, I guess I just disagree, sure, but with trans stuff. But there's never going to be an honest conversation with Pearl about, like, trans anything, It's pretty much what it boils down to. I don't really think that she even cares about trans issues. I think it's more of just like something else to virtue signal about. You know, I think that fundamentally speaking, I think when it comes to Pearl and other people in the manosphere weighing in on what a real woman is or what a real man is, I think that you should focus on actually figuring that out when it comes to non-trans people, because when you have people in the manosphere telling women that were raped that it was their fault, they should have picked better men, when you have an entire manosphere that champions a rapist sex trafficker, it's clear that you guys don't know what a real man is already. So maybe don't weigh in on trans people till you get your own house in order.
And I am so tired of us allowing these people to let us live in delusion. It is delusional to think you are the opposite gender, and it is not kind.
I can't even go on. I love flying British Airways, right? My preferred airline, a wonderful airline. And they always used to, there used to be a lovely posh voice saying, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Britain." And I used to felt soothing, particularly if I came from another country back to Britain. I felt immediately at ease.
Okay.
The captain was there, sounding like he was, you know, from some wonderful Pathé news bulletin, and he referred.
Yeah, when there are people in the manosphere saying that you should endure physical abuse, like, yeah, you don't even know what a man is, so you shouldn't really be talking about what, you know, when it comes to people's trans identities.
To us as ladies and gentlemen. That's now being banned. They're not allowed to say ladies and gentlemen because there might be one person on the plane who says, "Oh."
Is that true? I feel like that's not true. You're not allowed to say ladies and gentlemen on airplanes. What? Is that banned or is it like a company policy?
Whoa, whoa, hang on. I don't identify as a lady or a gentleman. Well, okay, fine. I don't care. But I do. So where's my right to be called a gentleman?
Here's,
Grace?
You know how I feel about this. I'm so bored of it all. I'm so bored of the fact that this is...
I mean, like, I think it's silly to make that much of a concession. I don't think that trans people are going to melt down because they say ladies and gentlemen. That seems more like a virtue signal and not productive. But is this an actual thing?
One item that's constantly coming up over and over and over again. And you can completely see why, right? Conservative governments have destroyed our economy. We're in the middle of a massive climate crisis, just after the hottest week ever. I've just come over from Europe. It's extremely hot. And instead of talking about that, we spend hours and hours and hours talking about pronouns, talking about...
She's 1,000% correct, by the way. Like, the conservatives are only bringing trans issues to the table and complaining about trans shit. They're not actually talking about any, like, comprehensive legislation to help the middle class or anything. So she's 100% correct about this. Kind of based, actually, if you ask me.
Going into bathrooms, talking about, you know, all of this stuff that just...
Like, it's fine to have an issue with this topic, but there's no other actual platform going on except for this from conservatives. So it's clear that it's being sensationalized just to, like, distract from, like, the lack of any real policy anywhere.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you see, it doesn't matter. Hang on. It doesn't matter to you.
I'm so bored.
It doesn't
matter to you, but it does.
It doesn't matter to conservatives either. Like, to be absolutely honest with you, it doesn't really matter. It gets them. It's sensationalized like nonsense. That's it. It's a virtue signal. Like, it's sensationalized garbage. Like, it doesn't matter as much as you're pretending that you care. It's just a means of, like, it's conservative content creators will say things like, oh, it's all in your face, LGBTQ's in your face. It's not. The only time you see LGBTQ shit is when you watch fucking Fox News. That's where it's in your face the most, is on Fox, because it's just constantly sensationalized beyond, like, a reasonable amount, because there's nothing else for conservatives to talk about except for like crying about fucking trans people all day. Like, I get Dylan Mulvaney is kind of cringe, but people, like, hyper focusing on her, but, like, her beer ad was, who cares? It's not a big deal. And people will say, like, oh, it is. No, it's not. You don't really care. Like, it's just some fucking dumb. It's VH1 style of fucking reality TV show to only be obsessed with trans people, especially with accounts like Libs of TikTok, where all they do is they find, like, the weirdest people in general, and they go, this is all people, right? Like, that's what that's all it is. It's the same thing when progressives go around to, like, the hardcore, like, insane Trumpers and go, like, this is all conservatives, when it's not. It's not even all people who voted Trump, at least back, you know, 20 whatever. Nowadays, in 2016, nowadays, you know, Trump's fucking crazy. But, you know, it's just like, it's a dishonest representation, and you're falling for it. But it just doesn't help you as, like, you know, it doesn't help you and your family. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help empower the middle class. It doesn't help any of this shit.
It does matter to women in sport. It does matter to women whose young daughters might be using these dressing rooms. It does matter to the victims of male rapists who see their attackers identify as women to get into women's prisons. Sorry, so when you say they don't matter, they really do matter.
Let's have those issues aired in the appropriate, you know, spaces.
We are.
In sports, have that discussion amongst sports people. But, like, literally, it's about priorities, isn't it? There is a certain number of time that we have on these shows to discuss the issues that matter.
You don't think women's... Hang on, before we come to our...
I don't think women's sport matters as much much as climate change. I think like having a planet.
She's right about that. I think that she's kind of like losing a little bit from like an optics perspective, because what she needs to say is like some of these issues do matter, but these are the only issues that are being talked about. And it comes off as incredibly dishonest when you have real issues like climate change, like the middle class not having enough money to afford anything. And we're sitting here and we're talking about preferred pronouns in an Instagram bio. Like that just seems, it just seems unnecessary. That's what you would really want to come out the gate with. You know, it's like, where's the comprehensive conservative policy change on anything? Any real problem? It just seems like we're all hyper focused on like trans people, which are like 1% of the population, if not even 1% of the population. You know,
in which we can play sport matters more than the
does women's equality matter?
I know that makes me probably absolutely.
Does women's
insane.
Equality matter to you?
Well, I mean, yeah, of course, but actually, I mean, the whole point like that I was going to make on this segment actually is that like you cannot separate feminism from class issues. Like if you're just going around saying like, I don't know, I think the female CEO of a weapons manufacturer should be paid the same as a male CEO, and that's the hill I'm going to die on. I'm not fighting that fight with you, because ultimately, like, what I care about are the struggles that ordinary women face every day.
Well, let's come to the main point of the segment, which is this issue of women's rights to be paid the same as men in sport. Now, the Australian women's football team have criticised...
This is another non-issue, right? Like, it's another big non-issue. Like, the reality is it's just preposterous that... It doesn't matter the gender or the sex of the teams. It's preposterous that a team that makes substantially less than another team would ask for the same pay. And I think most people are on board with that. And the fact that we're still having the conversation about like equal pay is just silly, because most people know that they're being silly. If those sports teams want to advocate for it, fine. If the whatever business, whatever governing body determines they should get paid more, that they determine that, fine. I don't care. But I mean, it's again like nobody gives a fuck about women. Like it doesn't matter. Like this isn't an issue that's affecting anybody. Like it's not a real issue. And I get talking about it once and making fun of it, but like we're still for years going on about it. So is this really a priority here? You know?
As the pay gap in the upcoming World Cup prize money. Let's take a look at what they said as a team.
736 footballers have the honour of representing their country on the world's biggest stage, this tournament.
Yet many are still denied the basic right to organise and collectively bargain.
Collective bargaining has allowed us to ensure we now get the same conditions as the Socceroos, with one exception. FIFA will still only offer women 1/4 as much prize money as men for the same achievement.
Well, okay, this is interesting, Pearl, because if you look at the revenue, for example, in 2019, FIFA generated £586 million in total revenue. The men's, for the 2019-22 cycle, 5.8 billion. Record revenue through the Men's World Cup. So the women's game has come on in leaps and bounds. The English Lionesses, fantastic win, sell-out crowds, they're making a lot more money. They're definitely way, way further now towards where the men are commercially than they were, but they're still a way off. And when you saw at Wimbledon, for example, the men's final was watched by 3 times as many people, and yet they were both free to air on the BBC. You could watch both if you wanted to. So there was 3 times as much interest in the men's game. They played 2 sets more per match than the women do, and yet the women get equal pay. I'm not quite sure why. I don't think it's a matter of equality. It's just a matter of fairness, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I won. I think all of the women should thank the men for funding our leagues, because most of our leagues would not exist without the men, number one. Number two, when we have the same numbers, then we should get the same pay. I'm sorry, I play volleyball at the highest level, and it's like, when we make what the men make and get the crowds that the men draw, then we should get paid the same.
Well, see, why is it actually a fight?
Do people watch volleyball? Like, what the fuck? I feel like people would want to watch women's volleyball more. You know, isn't there isn't there a game about it? Dead or Alive volleyball where everybody's in a bikini or something. I mean, that's the thing. It's a horrible thing to say, but I mean, like, you know, you'd get a lot more viewership if you guys were in bikinis. Although, maybe not everybody would look good in one that plays apparently at the highest level. I don't know. But
for equality, Grace. I mean, why if women in a particular sport, for example, turned out to generate more revenue, right, because they were more watchable. And in America, the women's football team is better than the men, and they do generate, even at school level, far more interest from girls than boys, for example. I don't see why equality should be the aim. Why shouldn't they get paid more than the men?
Well, look, I mean, there are all sorts of problems with the way that this market for labour, and it is basically a market for labour, works. Like, I personally don't think that the top football players in the world should be paid as much as they do. I think it's ridiculous, the amount.
But that's market force.
Exactly, it's market forces.
Well, why shouldn't
should
they get
that be the way that we decide, you know, who generates what? Who generates what?
I mean, actually, she's making a decent point. I don't know if she's going to flesh it out well, but it sounds like what she's speaking to is the concept that like people, like competitive athletes, get paid insane amounts of money, which I agree with. And for what? What's the real priority there? Meanwhile, like teachers aren't getting paid very well. The way that you would deal with that is like you would just have a better tax bracket for people with more money, and you would use that to implement better social programs, right? That would be more of an issue. That would be more of like the way to correct that the particular problem.
Personally, I'm very much in favour of the fact that they came out there and said collective bargaining. Ultimately, like the average worker in this country hasn't had a pay rise in over a decade. How is that going to change? That's going to change when they organise with one another.
I am so tired of women whining.
I mean, she's making a good point. Well, I mean, I actually kind of like this girl. She's just saying like, yeah, let's focus on things that matter. Like the middle class, you know, I don't think people should be making this. I agree. Like, I think it's fun to make it, but like they should have better tax structures. Like, if you make a lot of money, you don't need that much money. Like, implement that in making society more successful in better ways, like better schooling, better healthcare, you know, better roads, better bridges, better politicians. Some of those are fucking dog shit. Rather than focus on, you know, that's why I think that she makes a good point. You know, when you see like what happened in America with like Wall Street got bailed out with like tons of money, was it trillions of dollars or whatever. They made horrible decisions and they got bailed out like that. But when like a poor person makes a bad decision, we say like, oh well, you're just a fucking idiot. It's like, really? Like that's insane to me.
The only person whining at the moment is you.
Literally the men fund our leagues and we will still whine that we don't get paid enough. And honestly, when athletes do shit like this, it makes all of us look bad. Because instead of being thankful for the league that we have, we go out and whine and complain about the pay.
I mean, as I said, I'm not whining. You sound like you're maybe doing a bit of whining. But like, personally, I don't think we should be whining. I think people should be organising. If you want a pay increase, join a union, get out there and fight for it.
Should the women footballers get the same as the men?
Yeah, I think it probably makes sense.
Even if they're not
ultimately, like, it's not going to change. It's not going to change unless they organise. That's actually true across every sector.
Like, I agree with the fact that like, you know, advocate for whatever you want. If you get it, you get it. Like, I have no problem with that. But I don't agree that they should get paid as much. I just don't think it matters that much, right? And so, you know,
how much?
If you want a pay rise, join a union and fight for one.
Let me ask you this though. They have got unions. Let me ask you this. On talent alone, for example, as a yardstick, the US women's football team were beaten by a group of under 15 boys from Texas. Right?
Well, that's not necessarily talent per se. Like, they did beat them. It's kind of funny if you think about it, but it's not like is it really a talent conversation, or is it a conversation about like proportionality of like what you could achieve? Because obviously a woman has to work harder to achieve the same thing as a man physically, right? So it's not a matter of talent. Well, I guess it would be talent. I mean, it depends on how you define talent. I guess I'm talking more about hard work, but sure. Like, yeah, again, women, I don't care if they get paid the same in fucking sports.
Who were very good under 15 boys, but their under 15 boys team beat them, I think, about 8-9-0 or something. So why should women footballers, who are clearly nowhere near as good as their male counterparts,
I guess it's just natural aptitudes that would be talent, yeah.
Why should they get paid anything like as much money?
Well, I mean, you know, it sucks, doesn't it, that like as a woman, okay, you play volleyball. I'm a surfer. I absolutely love surfing. It's very hard for women to build up a body strength. This is something that I've learned very much the hard way. And so,
surfers, by the way, there is equal pay.
Yeah, there is, and actually, you know, it's one of those sports where
can a woman be as good as a man or not?
Well, it's different. It's a different sport, really. It's not, you know, it's the same sport, but it's very different watching a woman surf than it is watching a man surf because, you know, the average male body is different from the average woman, like woman's body. For all these
but is there any actual technical reason why a woman can't do with a surfboard what a man can do?
Yeah, there's loads of reasons. Like, it is about the upper body strength. It's about like the way that the body is built.
So should women surfers at the elite level get the same as men?
But like, again, I think it just is different. Like, it's a different kind of game when people watch it.
Oh, you're shaking your head.
No, I just think when we start making the same amount of money as the men, then we should get paid the same as the men.
You hear that again, bro?
But like, again, I think it just is different. Like, it's a different kind of game when people watch it.
Oh, you're shaking your head.
No, I just think when we start making the same amount of money as the men, then we should get paid the same as the men.
I think it's beautiful. I agree with that, Pearl, 1000%.
I don't hear the men whining about OnlyFans models getting paid more than them.
What are you talking about? Yes, they do all the time. Your entire sphere won't shut the fuck up about how easy it is to be a woman because attractive women can fucking make money doing OnlyFans. It's the only thing that you talk about. It's annoying. It's fucking It's like the #1 talking point is women have it easy because attractive women can sell their bodies for lots of money. And they pretend like that's all women. That's all you fucking bitch about. What are you talking about, you dishonest piece of shit? Holy fuck. Like, she actually is. She's just so dumb. Men don't give. Yes, they don't shut the fuck up about it. They won't shut up all the time. It's all men do. Or not all men, but that's all the manosphere does is complain about women. Oh, they make money selling OnlyFans. That's all women can do this. No, they can't. Yes, they can. Every woman. Dude, you have people on like Fresh and Fit saying that like 50% of fucking women in college, regardless of where they live, are getting booked, getting asked to go to fucking Dubai. Women have it so easy. It's like insane. These delusional people. It's fucking crazy. It's what are you like? She's just a goblin. I cannot. It's crazy to think that she's a real person. Is all I'm really saying.
I don't hear the men whining
Is
about
that
models
true?
getting paid more than them.
Yes,
Kendall
they
Jenner
do.
is the highest paid supermodel. Where are the male supermodels?
average
But
out-
whenever men dominate in an industry, women will just complain.
I mean, I don't know if
Oh
that's
my
true about
God.
OnlyFans, because there are a lot of men on OnlyFans as well. But I mean, look, the main point
You
here...
think they make the same?
I have no idea, but like if they
don't know.
averaged out the number of men and women that are on that website. Anyway, look, the main point here, the point that came on here that I wanted to make was that the problem that we have in our economy at the moment is not that like the average football player isn't paid the same as the average man. It is probably an injustice, and I'm glad that they're organising and working together to fight for that. But ultimately, the problem we have in our economy is that nobody's getting paid enough money because inflation's eroded people's wages. Even before that, no one had a pay rise in a really long time. And the lesson from this is, as I've said, I'm going to say it again because it's an important lesson, and no one knows about them anymore because they see them as a hangover from the 1970s. Join a union, because otherwise your boss is going to walk
But there
away
are
with you.
unions for all these. It's the unions that are fighting for them.
Exactly.
But just as a general point, though, the principle you think that women should get paid the same, even if they're not as technically as good and not producing as much revenue.
It's a subjective judgment, isn't it, on whether or not they're like technically as good?
Well, not really.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, okay, so so first of all, like again, like women, the men tend to be more financially entertaining. It does, so that's really what it comes down to, right? Like I'm not really interested in female athletes getting paid the exact same, blah blah blah. You make money based on like how well you perform, and how much people watch you. But like, yeah, sure, you can call it subjective because women have different thresholds than men. Like a woman who has to work harder to achieve the same thing as a man physically. So like, yeah, you could argue that that's like more talent. You know what I mean? Like the top five, like the woman that's like top 5 in volleyball might be more, is a harder worker than a man that's in top 100, even if that guy can still beat her, right? So if you want to talk about it from that perspective, sure, whatever. I don't really, again, it doesn't really matter. But I like that she keeps bringing up class issues. I wish that she would just constantly hammer down on it and not let them bring it back to this. She was just like, I really don't care about that. If they want to advocate, be my guest. But, you know, at the end of the day, like this is not an issue that's really affecting people in the same way. It's a distractor. It's really what it is.
Watch men and women's sports for different reasons.
Well, let me give you an example. An example would be the Olympics. If you made it non-gender specific, how many women would win medals?
Well, I mean...
None.
Okay.
That's true.
I mean, maybe in equestrian and maybe in shooting, I think, are the
But
two,
again, I think-
where there's no sense that the men might win.
You can say like, oh, you know, this group is better than this group. But again, I think it's different.
Men are
It's
better than
different.
women
We
at sports. Yes, let's not live in this delusion.
And in,
I played
and in most
16
cases,
years
and in
of
most cases,
professional
Grace,
sports.
more people, men and women, want to watch men play sport.
Correct.
I mean,
That's just a
Sure.
demonstrable
Can you
fact. That may change.
name
And my point is,
5
if it changes, I don't see why equality should be the only ambition for the women. If it turns out that in some sport women get more viewers watching and therefore draw more revenue, I'm all for them getting more money than the men.
Can you name 5 WNBA players? 5 female soccer players?
I mean, I can't name any soccer players
That's
already.
crazy. I
What
wish we
is
had the support
WNBA?
from the
Basketball?
Messi. That's all I know. Messi, right? He's one of them.
I don't
We
know.
would get equal pay if we would just get the support from the feminists.
Well, let me tell you.
Name 5.
Let me tell
Name
you.
5 what? I don't even know what the WNBA is.
We need our
Basketball.
support.
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah,
I
you
think.
really are.
But I do want to mention one thing, which is I had Dale Vince on the program. He's been funding Just Stop.
It's interesting how condescending Pearl is, regardless of who she's talking to. And she's like very like loud and yelling a lot, even like because when she's wrong, like you know, like you'd think for somebody who's as wrong as she is so constantly or consistently, you think that she would have a little more humility and try not to, you know, berate people that she disagrees with, you know, because she wouldn't want to receive the same energy.
Oil, and also he was very, very keen to show his feminist credentials because he owns a football team and he had just hired the first female manager of a football team. But there was a slight problem, which he only made her the caretaker, and I saw a potential flaw here. So let's see what went down when I interviewed him.
Okay.
You didn't think by appointing the first female caretaker manager of a professional men's team you would get any attention?
She's the best candidate for the job at the club. This is what happens. You look at within the club, you find your best coach, and you say, take the team in an interim period while we do a proper recruitment process. That's all that's happening here. How do you keep coming back to that?
Because she's only a caretaker.
What does it matter? I don't really understand. Like, what's their issue with what he's doing? I'm not really understanding if he thinks that she's the best for the job, or are they saying he's a virtue signal? It might be.
Appointments.
She's only a caretaker.
Look at our record of
So
appointments.
if you believed in that much, you'd have made a manager. You've got all the publicity, but actually she's not got the full
That's
job.
not how it works.
And I suspect what's going to happen is you're going to go find
football.
You're going to probably go and find a bloke to replace her, and then you're going to have to deal with that.
I thought you understood football, Piers.
I do. I'm an Arsenal fan. What do you?
I mean, maybe I'm missing context, but I don't understand what Pierce's problem is there. It just sounds like he hired a person. It's possible he's virtue signaling. I don't really know, but it sounded like that he hired somebody who thought would be good for the job in like an interim period, and that's it. And he didn't hire her for the best position. I mean, I don't understand like what's the problem. I don't get it. What, because he didn't hire her as a regular manager? Who cares? That would be wrong to just give her something that she may not necessarily be prepared for, just to, that would be a virtue signal, right? I'm not understanding.
You might be massively unsurprised to learn that 12 days later, Anna Dinkley has been removed from her job.
Oh, okay. Well, like he said, it was an interim period. See if she was good for the job, and it didn't work out. Who cares? Why is this an issue?
As caretaker manager and replaced by a man.
Okay.
Dale talked a good game on feminism and women's rights.
You didn't show that. You just showed us. You didn't show us anything. You just showed us that he hired a woman and said that we're going to see if she's good for the job. But he said, I believe she's the best for the job, and then we're going to see, though. That's why she's in an interim period. And then it didn't work out. It seems like you're sensationalizing this story. But okay.
About it and got all the publicity. And in the end, he got rid of her after 12 days and put a bloke in charge. And you can make your own view about Mr. Vince for doing that. Lovely to see you both. Thank you both very much indeed.
Okay, wow. Fucking interesting, Piers. Okay, cool. That was that segment.